Can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Second. Any additions, changes, deletions? I'd like to add one under 7, section B, discuss the library furniture. Yes. Anything else? All in favour? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Item 3, public participation. I'd like to invite the public to address council.
You know, and your public.
Joe?
Okay, I know it's a question you're going to be expecting me to ask you anyway. Okay, so what are you guys supposed to do in the medium term concerning the water intake if you keep getting them blocked off? Have you got a plan yet, or are you working on the situation?
Would you like an answer now? I can give you a short answer. The situation is still dynamic. Yes, we are looking at strategic solutions rather than continuing to band-aid the current situation. Some of those include a different road, semi-automated rock handling at one or both intakes, relocation of the intake. These are all things that will need fairly significant study. It's premature to speculate what they will be, but they will be the subject of one of the major sections of the infrastructure master plan proposition that we're going to speak about tonight. Is that good? Thanks, Alan. Anything else? Good. Seeing no further takers, we'll move on to item 4 on the agenda, delegations and presentations. Well, this is the good part, because this is it's an honor and a privilege to be able to be in a position to say this. We have 3 esteemed former members of council with us, and as I've said many times, you guys have accomplished something between the miracle and the impossible. And we thought we'd give a little bit of a tangible flavour to that by making a presentation. And I've asked the 2 sitting former councillors who've set us straight quite a lot recently in terms of procedure and what went before to make the presentation. So the first one is to Brenda Broughton. And Ron, would you do the honours?
Oh, there you go. There you go. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mandy, Mayor Burr, Brenda. Thank you very much for your many, many years of service, and in this case, we're lucky to double up 2008 to 14. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And you know, for me personally, I can say that you've been a great mentor and teacher for me. Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And Fred and I will do this one simultaneously, but Fred gets to make the speech.
Oh.
Councillor Ander, would you step forward, please, Councillor Ander? Should I say Fred?
Scott, it's funny not to see you across the table. 3 good years, and really appreciated your insight, your understanding of what was going on. Thank you.
It's the switcheroo.
Yeah, you're not good. Anyhow, it was a pleasure working with you, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Oh, me too? Okay.
Yeah, you're very good at this.
Joanne, likewise, I didn't look across the table for you. You're always there at the right side. And you laugh at my jokes, so what can I say?
They're good jokes.
Well, thank you very much for your dedication and input to the community. It's been well served.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you all very much, and thanks for coming. So we're going to move straight on to adoption of 2 sets of previous minutes. The first is for the regular council meeting of November 18th.
Thank you very much.
Moved by Councillor Ron. Can't say his last name.
Unless there's any changes, I put the motion forward to
Yeah,
accept.
there is one
nope.
small change. Under item 14, adjournment, the date in there should say the 18th and not the 28th. Adjournment for the November 18th. That's all I saw.
Okay, anything else? Fred, you're the only other guilty party.
No, it's fine.
Is that seconded?
Second,
Councillor Green? There you go.
Councillor Payne.
It's the only one that
All
can
in
accept the
favour?
word, yeah.
Or do we do them together?
All in favor,
There you
no,
go.
do them separately.
Any opposed? Carried. To the inaugural council meeting of December 2nd. Additions, deletions, changes. I liked everything I saw. Looked good to me.
One question on it. Item D on it. Excuse me, about the acting mayor role. It starts with January and our term actually started in December.
Yes,
We should
thanks for
correct
pointing
that.
that out. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I was looking at the wrong one. That's right, we were going to bring that up. How do you want to handle that?
For the last two, you can appoint someone who's acting for the last 2 weeks of December.
Do that now?
And then this would take effect in 2015, and then next December we.
So the issue is we actually set our, was it deputy mayors? Beginning
Acting-
January 1,
the
acting mayor,
schedule. Yeah.
which was done quarterly alphabetically.
If I could say though, at the end of our term though, we will end not in December but in October.
You're right.
So that's why in past we had started December to
Yeah.
November.
Yeah.
But I think in 4 years, the election is a month earlier yet,
It's
so we'll
October,
actually be.
yeah. That's right.
So why don't we take the person who was last on the list, that's W,
Yep.
and ask Helen to take on the, what's it again?
We can bring forward a revised next meeting.
Do you wanna
for the
just
rest
change
of
it in the
term,
agenda, or
but
do you
we
want-
should probably decide here what that looks like right now, moving forward, in the event that
Okay, so
If
I'll
you're
move
not
that Helen Waterson be appointed to, what is it, deputy mayor?
acting mayor.
Acting mayor, thank you. From today's date through 31st of December at midnight. Comments? All in favour? Opposed? Carried. So that's fine, and then I don't think we really need to adjust the minutes, right? Okay. So back to the approval of the minutes, section B, 5B, sorry. No further comments? Seeing none, all in favour? Opposed? Carried. Item 6 on the agenda, business arising from the minutes. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 7, unfinished business. Sub A, community centre repair and replace project, page 11.
So it's just an update briefing to council in terms of what is still going on with the community center repair and replace, in terms of the project itself. If anybody has any questions about that, I'm happy to try to answer them.
No questions here?
This is a matter of information, so the feds have signed off, which is.
On the WD, yes, that check is en route,
Thank
the
you.
final closeout.
Yeah, that's good.
Mhm.
Okay, anything else? Okay, moving on to B, library. Councillor Ron.
Thank you, Mayor Burr. Just in quick to recap from the Committee of the Whole this morning, this afternoon. There's a small budget left to complete the library. And I'll be going to resolution in a second. The substantive part of this is that it puts the library executive in charge of the completion of the work, subject to a small amount being done in movement by the Public Works Department. The council members have heard the verbatim earlier today, so I'm prepared to go to resolution on this, and I'll run through it slowly. Be it resolved that the Village of Lions Bay Council approve a total budget of $3,500 to complete the library with the understandings that, number one, library executive undertake and have shelving, millwork and painting completed to their desires. 2, the village will move the pre or post milled and painted shelving to the site. 3, library executive will undertake to assemble, install, and anchor the shelving. 4, library executive will keep the CAO apprised of developments as they arise.
It's your recommendation?
Recommended.
I have one question.
Yep.
Are we a total of 3,500, or are we adding 3,500 to the
35 all in.
21? Thank you.
The second question, is there an anticipated completion date?
Subject to I believe they have 2 painters in mind competing for the job, so it'll be what they decide on and the millwork piece, which to the best of my knowledge is reducing the height by some small amount.
Soon-ish.
We're trying to take it out of the CAO's hands to the library.
She's out of reading
executive.
material.
There you go.
No, people are asking, so it's like,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Let me just say this about that. The library executive believed they'd be serving tea and muffins in mid-January. I counseled them they would not be at the opening. So I think they're tuned to a late Jan, early Feb opening.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor McLaughlin. Would you like to move that resolution?
So moved.
Second. All in favour? Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks. So that takes care of item 7 on the agenda. Moving on to item 8, reports. Do we move and second after we've seen the report or
Do
before?
move in second receipt for the reports,
Okay.
and then we can discuss them.
Okay, so the first one is on page... what?
17 of 198.
17.
She's going before that is the CAO's report, and even though there's nothing written in the package, just by virtue of everything that went on last week, I'm happy to give a verbal of kind of what's going on in the office at this point,
Okay.
if you like. So of course we have the water issue on our plate. With everything that happened last week, that'll be all kinds of discussions with the Provincial Emergency Program about recovery work and the cost reimbursement for all of that. So we're dealing with that right now, and as well as initial preliminary stuff to do with the new Build Canada Fund that Nikki Hoagland and I have been working on for the last couple of weeks. You'll see some preliminary options in this council package with the intent to do some move forward decisions tonight. The infrastructure master plan, again, Nikki and I have been working on this. There's preliminary recommendations in the package that we'll come to later. Also, we are trying to fill the vacant municipal coordinator's position, hoping that will happen sooner than later. The posting is up and it comes down December 24th.
Every day that goes by is a saving on budget, as I understand it. But this is a position that needs to be filled yesterday.
The
Yeah.
counterpiece to that is the work that's fallen behind,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yes, there is a savings in the budget. Of course, the upcoming organics ban that we're working on, I'm working quite closely with Ruth Simons, who's spearheading this and has done a ton of work that we probably otherwise wouldn't have been able to get to this month. So big thanks to Ruth.
Council's familiar with what this is about? It's the banning of organics from the regular waste stream.
Yeah, we tentatively have a start date and set for organics pickup the first week of January. The details around that are still being refined in terms of getting a hard and fast schedule out to residents and up on the website. But it's tentatively set to go that first week of January, which is great.
And if I could just interject, the issue is here, this is not a whim, this is a requirement because our garbage goes to Metro Vancouver and it's mandated by Metro, so we have to do it. An entire load will get rejected for the wrong stuff in the wrong truck. That'll start costing us big money. As it is now, we actually will save money over our current year costs because the dumping fee is less.
We'll save the money when our contract comes up again for renewal.
Yeah,
There will be no
okay.
savings in the beginning because we have a contract in place. And we're also just hammering out what the upcoming budget process timeline looks like. So that's where we're at in terms of admin.
Can you tell us what that is? Yeah.
The timeline,
Mm.
it'll start in January and it'll end in April.
Okay. That's pretty good. Okay, thanks. Do we have to receive that or on table, so that's fine. Okay, so the next is Mayor and Council.
Nothing to report.
We just got started.
Nothing here.
Do we want to mention that we have allocated in the Committee of the Whole Council meeting that we just had, we allocated council portfolios?
That's later in the agenda.
Oh, it is?
I believe
Okay.
it's under new business.
Oh, that's new business. Okay. Good, so we'll move to C.
Thank you, Mayor Burr. On the Finance Committee, the articles in the package were written last month, and I requested they be received by council. Mr. Mayor, the process is that you confirm that, with council that the items are received.
Say that again. Slowly. Oh, you've got a bet on it. Okay, sorry.
The articles were written last month, and I requested they be received by council. Mr. Mayor, the process is that you confirm with council that they're received.
Motion second and thing.
We've-
Motion for receipt.
We've
Second?
moved, we've already, actually, there's a motion on the floor already. We've moved and seconded receipt already.
Okay.
After we
All
do
of
the
them?
reporting, then we will call the question on the motion.
Fine.
After we
So
get
we can
through
do
all
all
of
of
the
them?
reports,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And on the second piece,
I'm still learning.
on the tree committee, referencing page 21 of 198, just a bit of color for council. The chair has resigned and there is no replacement. The tree committee group is small, and there is no interest within the group to replace the chair in the role that he has done in the past. There's a bigger issue here, and I would table this as a topic for discussion at the COTW on January the 6th. I would request that the mayor write a letter of appreciation to Mr. Cox for his many years of service to the village. Thank you, Mayor Burr.
With pleasure. This does give rise to a slightly larger question in that we do need a tree committee. It is in contemplation that we augment the tree committee's function with a tree view and landscape committee that would fall under a new community portfolio, but we're some ways away from that. What are we going to do about the tree committee in the meantime?
Because there are, to the best of my knowledge, no applications at this moment, we'll take a brief holiday recess and come
like
back
that.
on January the 6th,
Yeah.
as I suggested, and I have a bit of a plan for that one.
Okay, good. No trees. No trees for 2 weeks.
Unless the snow is falling, of course.
Okay, good, thanks.
To the other one, the piece of business for applications 51, 52, 53. The content is self-evident to those with the binder. I'm ready to move to resolution on all three applications, which, as I said, are self-explanatory. And so, as on a one-by-one basis, if there are no questions from council on any of the three, done, thank you. Be it resolved that this is the motion I put forward, be it resolved that the Village of Lions Bay Council approve the recommendation in its entirety by the tree committee, communicated in their letter on November the 22nd with respect to tree application number 51.
So moved, second. All in favour? Opposed? Carried?
Be it resolved that the Village of Lions Bay Council approve the recommendation in its entirety by the tree committee as communicated in their letter of November 22nd with respect to tree application number 52.
So moved, second. All in favour? Opposed? Carried?
Be it resolved that the Village of Lions Bay Council approve the recommendation in its entirety by the tree committee as communicated in their letter of November 22nd with respect to tree application number 53.
Just one question I had on this one. No, I had an answer. Okay. So moved, second.
So I
Council-
do, actually, I do have a question. It says that before work begins, Mr. Grant has to make sure that none of the trees are on school board property. So when we approve it, it doesn't mean,
That would be, Mr. Grant needs to make sure before the chainsaw starts.
And that's a condition of the approval
The
and
tree committee's recognizing that they're not surveyors. It was ambiguous property line. This is along the school in Bayview.
yeah.
And tree committee, which is not the role, was to take the assumption that everything was fine. That's for the resident to make sure.
You have to deal with the opposite property
Yep.
property owner. Fine. Okay, good. So the motion's on the table, second. I think Fred did the second already. All in favour? Opposed? Carried.
Mayor Burr, and for Councillor Larson, that may be as simple as somebody putting your boots on and going looking for the pins in the dense bush and creek to satisfy themselves that they're within the survey line.
Okay, moving on to item 8D1, staff reports, Manager of Public Works. Mickey, that's you.
Okay, so not unlike Mandy, it's been quite a busy last couple of weeks.
Congratulations.
So I do not have a written report. In this regard, I was busy on the other two that have already been mentioned. But I'm sure that everybody is kind of wondering what the latest on magnesia is, so maybe I'll give you a brief update on that. So I think that last week has been pretty well documented. There's been a lot of news items and things like that. Crews were first able to get to both magnesia and Harvey intakes yesterday. That was when our window opened up with regard to being able to safely access the sites because we have unstable terrain upslope. So we went in for the first time to Harvey at about 1:30 in the afternoon yesterday. And Harvey is running well. It did not suffer a debris torrent, which was good news. It was a bit clogged up, the screens and things were a bit clogged up. We managed to unclog them and move some material away from some debris and organics away from the intake. As a result, we were able to get the GPM out of Harvey at about 699 GPM, up from about the high 300s.
That's a double.
So yeah, that's the good news. Crews were able to move some valves on Soundview and up at Sunset, and so as a result of that, on Friday we were able to get the entire village onto Harvey for water. So that was very good news. What Harvey can't do, our interconnection does work in that regard. What we cannot do is get water from Harvey into the magnesia tank.
And that's a fire storage issue.
The fact that we don't have water there currently, correct, is. I have talked to Fire Chief Oliver. We do have a tanker truck, which of course doesn't carry much, it's only about 3,000 gallons. But he's aware of the parameters of the new system. He's aware that the GPM is higher. He seems fairly happy with that. He has run around and he's got agreements in place with Westbound and Squamish as well. So it's definitely better news all around for the village insofar as Harvey's concerned and some fire flow is concerned. Obviously, and I was just talking to him about this earlier this evening, he's going to have to call us because we've moved a bunch of valves. And so he would have to tell us before he hooks onto a hydrant just so that we can make sure that it's not going to adversely affect our system. Having said that, it's a lot better today than it was last week. So that's good news. Magnesia, on the other hand, is not. So magnesia, we have a couple of problems, and they're all significant. So the access road to the intake is compromised, it's undermined, and there are fault lines through it. The fault lines are hard to see because there's also debris on the road from rock slides that came down. We also had a considerable debris torrent upstream at Magnesia, and there remains a lot of sediment and rock that's upslope that's going to come down at some point. We just don't know when. We first discovered that when we went up in a helicopter on Friday, and there hasn't been a lot of...
Wednesday.
Was it Wednesday? Sorry, my days are falling apart. Last week.
Realize that you shower, that's how you...
So, and when we got there today in full daylight as opposed to in the waning daylight of afternoon, we discovered that there's quite a bit of sediment. It was obvious that Magnesia had jumped its banks, come over top of the weir, and then diverted back into the creek at some point. There's a fair amount of debris there. Our rock chamber is filled up again. Surprise. And at the moment, we can't get to any of the intakes, the intake up at the top because there are enormous boulders in the way. So the combination of the road being undermined prevents us from bringing heavy machinery there right away. And we're going to need some kind of heavy machinery in order to move the rocks to figure out if we can somehow bypass the system to get the water into where it needs to go. So we're at a bit of a conundrum right now. We organized an engineer to come out with us on that walk today. So he is going to come back with a report, which of course will be coming back to everybody at the table with when we know a little bit more about what next steps can be. Rough guess estimates to fix what is broken there are quite high. What I didn't mention previously as part of the road is there used to be a stacked rock wall up against the side of the intake road. Most of that is gone. So,
And these were cubic meter by meter, big blocks.
and that would be, I'm not sure how we would actually go about repairing that. Like, I'm not sure if we would actually have to take the whole road down, rebuild it up. Excuse me. Or whether we could somehow place I-beams or concrete down, build up. Either way, it's going to be a lot of work, and whether that would be the best thing forward is just unknown at this point. We know that there's a lot of trouble at that site. We know it's not a safe intake, never has been. The location is not ideal, the way it's built is not ideal. We've known that for a number of years. So whether we move forward and fix what's broken, or whether we come up with another plan is up in the air. The engineer has been asked if we can get a temporary fix in, but again, this will be temporary. It's not a long-term solution. We have tasked him to go away and come up with, any kind of concept as to how we could perhaps get some of the bigger rocks off so we can at least look at the intake, because right now it's flowing pretty heavily over top of these enormous rocks that have come down. So
That are in and amongst where the weir is and all that.
Absolutely, yes, they're all over.
So we don't actually have a weir pool that we could even stick a pipe into.
We do not.
We just have rocks.
We have a lot of rocks.
Yeah, does freezing weather, would that allow for heavy, although it has its own problems, would freezing weather stabilize the road such that heavy equipment, no?
No.
So this is really a long-term deal here.
It is a long-term deal, yes. And we also would have to get emergency clearance to be able to work on the creek side. We'd have riparian issues. I'm not sure what the zone is here. But we can't just go ahead and work in a creek either. There's a lot of rules and regulations against that. And again, we need to have some better answers as to what the best course of action is before we start even contemplating moving forward on that.
I took some time, spent about 4 hours poring over the photographs, and you can see sections of wall that have come out in the photographs, and you can look at the road and you can see that there's some issues there. And the only way to fix that is remove it right down to the base and build it back up again, and it's going to be really difficult.
And you're talking 20 meters to build up from the base?
Yeah, at least. I don't know how, I can't tell how
And
deep
that
it
wall
is.
the wall was 20 meters.
At least that,
easily.
yeah, I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I personally
It's
know.
a considerable amount of work.
Yeah.
Wait, Nikki, when you talk about there's still debris and it's going to come down at some point.
That's really high up.
Okay,
Yeah.
so and now is that at any point, or if the ground is saturated, or if there's another torrent, or how safe is it for the guys to be up there knowing that?
So there are two separate issues. So I'll go back to unstable terrain upslope. That's the real danger for my guys, is the unstable terrain upslope, because they're generally where the major debris is that is still yet to come down. That is so far upstream of where we would be working that we would actually have some kind of notice. We'd either hear it or the river would start running really brown again or something like that, which is another giveaway for us to get out. So we have safe work procedures associated
But
with.
this would only be during a rain event, or this could be any time?
There has been no indication that it would only be rain necessarily. Though rain would be a common way for it to go. It settles down and then something else happens. So you have an earthquake, you have rain, you have something else occur, and it would come down.
But it could
The
be minutes.
geoscientist has not indicated in his report and he's the expert, when or how this will come down, just that there is still known deposits upstream that at some point will come downstream.
There's enough of a cut up there above the weir,
Yeah.
way up the valley there, that you can see it, that it's opened up a whole new swath of exposed earth and rock and stuff like that, and it wouldn't take much to bring it down.
Okay, well
So-
that's a
so
bigger
there's-
problem than we're going to solve today.
Yes.
So,
With the debris, the unstable terrain upslope, the way we keep safe is by adhering to those procedures that have been written.
that's the first order of business.
Yeah.
That's not even an issue for discussion.
No.
So,
So-
what's the risk? The risk is that we're on a single intake, and if it's taken out for similar reasons, then we're really in trouble. Is it fair to say that the fact that we had a slide on Harvey in October cleaned out anything that was likely to come down, and that's why it is that Harvey was not so badly damaged?
And not being a geoscientist, I can't answer that definitively. I would definitely think that that helped Harvey.
Because if it didn't
in
come
this
down in
instance.
a whatever, I don't know what the number of years flood this was, I'm hearing a 20 to 100 year flood. If it didn't
Yeah.
come down now,
And it, going upstream of Harvey, it didn't look nearly as dicey as upstream.
you were in the aerial thing, right? You were in the
I
helicopter.
was feeling ill through most of it.
Yeah, those
I
guys
don't
do that
like
on purpose.
helicopters when I'm feeling well.
They
I
do
really
that on
wasn't
purpose,
last
yeah.
week, so.
So, would you suggest that we get a risk assessment that Harvey will get taken out as well, so we know where we stand, or?
We do have a report from the geoscientist, and I will make sure that that report is circulated.
I have a question. Is there any point on after the intake along there that we can access the feeds so that we can pump or get something in there, some sort of a pumping system to get water in that system? Open it up down below and get in there without having to go up to the weir?
With regard to Meg, that is one of the tasks that the engineer that I was referring to before has been
Okay.
asked to do, is how do we temporarily get water into Meg? And what, long term, what are we looking at? Because obviously where we're situated right now is not optimal.
Yeah.
So he's been
Yeah,
tasked
I
with
mean,
looking at both of those, correct?
How
We've
big a
spent the best part of $1
temporary
million
pump
bucks
would
there in the last
How big a
5 years.
temporary pump would that be?
Wouldn't take, all you need is a 4-inch or 6-inch line to come in.
Yeah, you wouldn't need a pump,
Wouldn't
it's
need a
gravity
huge,
feed.
no, that's right, it could be gravity fed.
As long as it's far enough upstream.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as long as it's high.
Well,
Correct.
all you need is 30 feet or 40 feet and you get a heck of a lot of water coming in.
Yes.
Yeah, when
So he has been, he has been asked to come up with the best temporary solution to get water running through Meg. Correct.
If Harvey continues to run,
Mhm.
what are the ramifications? Can we run on just one tank if it's just flowing well?
Well, you've hit upon it, really. Harvey historically does not run well in summer.
the river.
So that's
Yeah.
the
Does not
problem.
run well in summer.
No, it's Mag that stays on all summer.
Meg is the thing that keeps us going in the summer months. The two of them working together are what keeps the village in water.
Okay, well, this is a bigger topic than this report, so we're going to have to look at this. This is a fairly risky proposition.
It is.
We may have to look at Alberta, recommissioning Alberta.
We took the engineer to Alberta as well. Recommissioning Alberta will be, again, it's a possibility. That road will have to be completely redone because it is not a good road right now. It does switchbacks that you can't actually switch back on. You have to go up, back up, turn around,
Yeah.
go back up.
Yeah.
It's a scary piece of road.
Well, that's very comforting.
Sorry. I'm all sunshine and light.
In public comment period, yeah, thanks. Okay. Anything else?
Thank you.
No, I have nothing else.
Okay, good. Well, so we're gonna have to put
This
some-
report, but I have other things.
Yeah, there's more to come. Okay, thanks, Nikki.
Just make a comment, is it possible to get some cameras up there, especially when you got a situation?
Okay, so that will be part of, yeah.
Okay, that would be.
Public, we will have a question and answer period at the end. Although I'll just answer that one quickly. That is in one of the upcoming infrastructure quick fix propositions. Not in this meeting, but soon. Thanks, Nick.
Sorry,
One more?
Councillor McLaughlin did just mention something that perhaps it's a carryover from before all of this happened. The Kelvin Grove washroom project.
A small project was finally
Tiny
finished.
little project. We just had the opportunity, I can't remember if it was this morning or yesterday, to go and double check the deficiencies that were noted in the roof line, and they've been signed off, so I will do the appropriate paperwork and we'll give the contractor his full back. And then promptly close the washroom for winter.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, it's okay, the project's on
They're
the
open, they're closed.
project's on the fencing's
Correct.
removed, so that's one chapter closed.
Okay, well, that's enough to be
Shall I
going
just stay here?
Just stay there.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Moving on. 8E, Emergency Services Reports, page 27.
So just there for information.
So we get these every so often. Do we do anything about them?
Don't we just put them in so that you can see what the stats are for
Uh,
protective services in the village?
The RCMP seems to think that Strachan Point is part of Lions Bay.
It's part of their reporting grid, is the way I understand it,
I don't want them holding us responsible.
in
in
terms
any-
of billing or,
Yeah, billing specifically.
okay, I can follow up on that.
Yeah, just because there's some bad people living in Strachan Point apparently. Or they have bad alarms, one of the two. Yeah, it's simply for a liability slash billing issue. Okay, thanks. So, anything else on the RCMP and fire reports? Moving on. The item 8F, Chief Election Officer's final report, page 33.
Also just a closeout of his work on our election, so.
As the Deputy Chief Election Officer, are you good with everything we see here? It looked fairly detailed to me.
This is the same information that was put out on our website.
Yeah.
The only real extra information in this report is the milestones that he's included, just for information. So you can see that how the process rolled out
Yeah.
leading up.
So, I mean, I would propose that we offer some semi-formal thanks to Lewis because I think it went fairly smoothly.
Yeah, I mean, he was a contractor and we paid him, so
Okay. Is that good enough?
in my view it
It's
is.
your call. Okay, good. Okay, so that's it for reports. So can I have a motion to receive and accept all reports?
So we've moved and seconded, we just need
Oh,
to
we
call
did.
question.
Call question. Who's calling the question?
You are.
I'll call the
All
question.
in favor.
All in favour? Opposed? Carried. Thanks. Next. 9. Resolutions. First resolution. Installation of automated external defibrillator in Village Hall and agreement to participate in the BC PAD program, page 39.
So the recommendation is there in the covering report. This was in the November 18th business, and there is a notation in those minutes that says the mayor and the CAO will execute the agreement, but the program actually needs a formal resolution. So that's why this is put forward again in this format.
Okay, thanks. Comments? Helen?
Yes, just one. I think it was mentioned that there will be a, what's it called, a training on this offered to the staff. Will there be training offered to residents as well, for non?
No.
So the times that a lot of events run is after office hours, so they just won't be able to use it.
We can certainly look into doing a training session for, you know, the community groups. ESS has, they've received training, I believe, because they have an AED. But the other thing is that if it happened out, the idea being that anytime things happen during business hours, there's someone on staff close
Yeah.
by to come and do it. Other than that, we would call fire, we'd call 911, we'd call
Okay.
ambulance. We do have backup measures. This
Okay.
is just meant to kind of cut that time in half for the, you know, during the business hours.
Training isn't necessarily required for AEDs. AEDs, for the most part, are self-explanatory for the public. And training is a good idea for staff and for people. It's a requirement of WCB and things like that. However, AEDs are like a lot of tugboats, a lot of BC ferries, a lot of stuff. A lot of the stuff is completely understandable, and AEDs will actually walk you through the training while you're actually doing it.
Okay, and I know for the purposes of their, executing their agreement,
Yeah.
the training they're offering is a requirement for our staff.
Yeah.
I think though that is more to do with the program we applied for to get it in the first
Yeah,
place.
no, that's fine.
And
That's great
I
to
understand
know.
this is coming at no charge to the village.
Yeah, no charge for the training, no charge for the equipment.
Who's paying for it?
Yeah, I understand that 2 years ago, the CAO who was here at the time, who I believe was Farouk Zaba, applied through a provincial program that was out. And 2 years later, this box arrived
Yeah,
on
we
my
were warned that
doorstep.
municipalities go slow.
Yeah, it's a joint project between BC Ambulance and the Red Cross that they got the government sanction on it. The other thing I would like to add is that the fire department provided training for the ESS for all theirs. And I can approach, if you like, the fire department to see if they want to offer training on AEDs for any groups that want to meet here.
Great idea.
It would be handy. But as Jim was just saying, that this one is designed that anybody can run it.
Yeah.
You just follow the instructions and it tells you what to do. It's voice led.
But is that recommended
That's great.
for
Yeah, it is.
someone who has no skill to just grab it and start?
So really, they are very, very easy to understand, and it walks you right through exactly what to do. It's
But
they're
we
very,
probably
very
want to
good.
have some protocol around that. The
Yeah.
first thing to do is to call
There will be.
911.
Yeah.
Then start messing with the shocking pedals.
And I get a sense that a portion of the training is just upkeep and maintenance of the unit in our, how often we're going to check it, what we're going to check for, how we're going to test it, where we're going to put it, all those things as well, all the other things.
We're
that-
using, all that stuff is important when it comes to the golden hour of saving a life. And so that's, the AED is so important, especially when you're a long ways away from something like oxygen therapy. It's the same type of thing.
Okay.
It keeps people going a lot longer.
Well, with the AED, it's the first 12 minutes.
Yeah.
If you haven't
That's
gotten
right.
shocked before 12 minutes, the recovery is next to nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point, Helen, it's better to shock and have it done by somebody who hardly knows what they're doing. They're just following instructions rather than doing nothing, because the person will remain dead if you do nothing. So it only gets better.
I gotta love firefighters.
Sorry, I don't know
Would
graceful
it be
labor.
easily? It's not easily accessissible. So, like some child can grab it and start
It'll be high,
shocking
it'll be
people.
high
or
enough up.
Okay.
But we do, it's a
Yeah.
valid
Use it
point.
as the benchmark.
We do have to put it
Yeah.
somewhere.
We host, just as a thought, we host numerous community events throughout the year. We just take it off the wall, take it to the event and do a promo. Could be anything from Canada Day to the next thing we're doing at the hall. And, you could do it for a year and, the village should be covered. Most people would see, it's done and it's back to a 12-minute thing.
Okay. So the resolution is to execute the agreement to install the AED in the community centre. Motion, Fred Bain, second. Jim Hughes, all in favour? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. 9B, Infrastructure Master Plan, page 81. Nikki, you're up. Again.
So you have the resolution before you. This is as a direct result of the infrastructure committee wanting to bring forward an infrastructure master plan. So the report is before you. I am more than happy to answer any questions, but
Let's take it as read. I assume that's the case.
correct.
So we have two issues before us. Nikki, remind me. It's to accept the recommendation and to choose one of two options.
Correct. So, there are two options. One is option one, I'll just read it. The village has limited but competent staff resources that could be utilized to put together and issue the infrastructure master plan RFP. Council has further indicated that time is of the essence for this RFP. As such, provision of this RFP in-house has distinct time advantages over undertaking the required processes to hire and provide oversight for a consultant to provide the service. Should council so direct, the Public Works Manager could be seconded to provide this service in conjunction with the CAO. The most cost-effective solution for the village would be to backfill the Public Works Manager's considerable day-to-day oversight of the works crews and enable her to concentrate solely on the RFP and the high-level operational planning for a period not to exceed 4 weeks. this could be accomplished by having the village's works operator 2 act in capacity as a working foreman on a temporary basis for the aforementioned period of time. The cost to implement the above solution would be approximately $4 an hour. That's based on 2014 CUPE 389 rates, salary
That's
only.
incremental cost.
Correct.
Yeah.
Option 2, if council should so direct, a request for quotations could be created to hire a consultant. That consultant in turn would put together the master plan RFP. The cost to implement the solution would likely be in the range of $125 to $153 an hour plus disbursements, and that was from the consulting engineer's website for 2014. They have a posted list of rates.
I think that's on the low side. Well, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, clearly option 1 is our best option. It's the person who's closest to the coalface, understands the needs, understands the limitations. Seems to me that option 1 is the way to go. I would like to add that I'd like council to consider whether we should request the option 1 person to in any way consult with the infrastructure committee and in any way to establish any absolute deadlines. This is for council's consideration. For myself, I'd like to see the infrastructure committee involved in the RFP because it's going to be fairly detailed, right? It's going to include a lot of the recommendation material plus new stuff in light of the stuff that's just emerged. It'd be useful to have a bunch of civil engineers looking at it for free. Anybody else?
I don't think this is going to happen quickly. I mean, the master infrastructure plans, I mean, it's a huge, huge piece. In favor of number 1 versus number 2 for the obvious reasons, which finance is not the big one. But I'm wondering what our expectation of delivery here is. And
Well, so that's why I was
really
looking for
the
dates, yeah.
$50 question.
So, just to set expectations here, the process is this, that assuming we go for option 1, Nikki writes the request for proposal. This is going to be a fairly detailed document. Why? Because it has to go out for bid on the newest, what's the newest what?
It's the newest trade partnership agreement that dictates whether we put things up for bid and how we do it.
Okay, so there's a threshold above which the contract must be bid. This is because of our membership with Metrovan, that we're part of this new West buying agreement thingamajig.
It actually extends beyond Metrobank.
Oh, it does? Okay. Anyway, the point is that we have to go to bid because the likely cost would be well over the threshold of what is the threshold? $75,000. So the RFP has to be written in a fairly bulletproof way so that we get what we expect. That's the effort that Nikki would propose to do. That effort will take a month from the time it started. Is that a person month or a calendar month from the time you start?
It would have been a calendar month.
Okay, so that's pretty fast because we're talking about a fair amount of work. Then it's bid. The bid process would take 6 weeks.
General rule of thumb is you would have a period in which you post the documents. That period closes and then you would carry on.
And you evaluate.
You evaluate. That usually takes some time as well. So from when it is put up for bid, you generally at least put it. You want your proponents to be able to put together a big package. Giving them time is actually to your benefit.
Absolutely.
So I would say that for something that's this detailed, I would say 3 weeks is probably going to be your minimum. The minimum you're allowed to put it up for is a week. I don't think you're going to get anything of value in a week.
No, we wouldn't
I
even
think
look like
2
a
weeks you're
player.
on the cusp. I think 3 weeks is probably pretty much that sweet spot. Most big companies are going to have the ability to get something that's good to you in 3 weeks. I
You'll
don't
need
think
to
they're
hold
going to get
bidder
something good to
meetings.
you in a week.
You'll have to hold bidder meetings in that
Yes, you will.
period. Okay,
And then you would
so that's
probably
putting
have
us
addendums,
into.
it'll depend on how many questions come through, you'll have addendums, you put those addendums out. So this is after you've actually issued the RFP and things like that. Then you would have an evaluation period. You would already write your criteria for your evaluation prior to actually putting out the bid. And you would evaluate anything that came in. You would document all of that. And you would go to your leading proponent and you would offer them what it is you're looking for, and go and enter into agreement at that point.
there is grant funding available for planning, from master plans. So I would respectfully suggest that we write it into the RFP, that if it turns out that we can get more grants per, if we phase it, we will put it right into the RFP. So, for example, we could have the RFP be, we want an infrastructure master plan. Components of that master plan are a water master plan. Due to the way grant funding comes in, we want to have that water master plan be phase 1. Phase 2 will be drainage master plan, clearly denoted as phase 2, so that you can apply for another grant.
And Nikki's talking about the infrastructure planning grant that she's referring to. It's a maximum of $10,000, but they have different, I think it's a dozen different parameters that you can apply. So if we break them down into smaller projects, we can probably realize, hopefully, grant that 10 grand for more than one project, as opposed to submitting one infrastructure master plan and only getting $10,000.
So,
But the engineer would be consecutively working on all of them under
Correct.
different names, different chapters, if you will.
correct. It would be written into the RFP in such a manner that, to take advantage of grant funding, you may need to be producing this in sections, in segments that are clearly defined.
Would it go to, we can legitimately award it to the same firm?
Correct, because you would write the RFP in such a manner that the RFP is for like a master plan for infrastructure. It may have components, but we want the same. It makes no sense to piecemeal it out.
To piecemeal it.
Well,
if we can pull that off, that would be
I don't think
fantastic.
we would like the results if we piecemealed it out.
And the grant is worded as infrastructure planning grants, not master plan.
I know, I looked it up.
So,
So Ron, you did the calculation on the calendar.
Well,
Where
I'd
are we now?
say, somewhere in the spring.
Yeah, but then that means that then the work will take how long?
I'm
The
sorry,
report?
I don't understand your question.
So when we've now the contract's been let to the winner on the bid,
Yes,
and the length of the project is about how long?
there will be a schedule that they would have to provide as part of the RFP. I can't tell you that right now.
Well, I'm guessing, educated guess, 4 months, let's say, thereabouts. So we're talking late summer for delivery of the infrastructure master plan,
Yeah.
which is in time for
That's
next year's
probably
budget process.
May +4, so
Yeah.
we pumped over.
And there may be some go-arounds on that. Oh, you're right. You look like you're struggling. We can,
It's okay,
We can
I'm not
recess.
feeling well, it's all good.
okay, say the word if you need a break.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So let's, unless there's any further input, let's formulate a resolution. Do you want to take a crack at that?
There's one on the,
Well, it's here.
There's a resolution.
It's the choices A or B.
Okay, so I'll read the resolution, but I will add in my own words the points that the council agreed with on consultation with the IC. And what did we decide on delivery dates? We'll do no hard delivery dates because they're all relative dates, and you will spend a month, calendar month, when you start. And you will start at the earliest opportunity based on all the other stuff coming down the pike. Okay, so long one, here's the resolution. Whereas the performance of the Village of Lions Bay's infrastructure provides the foundation for sound fiscal management of its assets and the overall quality of life for its residents. And whereas reliable and well-maintained infrastructure assets are essential for the delivery of critical core services for the residents of the Village of Lions Bay. And whereas a technically precise and financially rigorous infrastructure master plan, diligently implemented, will mean that sufficient investments are made to ensure sustainable infrastructure services to current and future residents. Therefore, be it resolved that the Village of Lions Bay Council authorises staff to proceed with a request for proposal from qualified engineering companies to complete an infrastructure master plan for the Village of Lions Bay, and that Council, pursuant to the report of the Public Works Manager dated April 8, 2014, entitled Infrastructure Master Plan, dedicated staff resource to the provision of the request for proposal, and that Council authorises staff to proceed with compiling and submitting applications for available grant funding to help offset costs associated with the infrastructure master plan, including breaking the plan into component parts. If doing so will increase the village's ability for cost offsetting via such grants, and that the Public Works Manager will at all times consult with the Infrastructure Committee on the production of the RFP. You good with that?
What does at all
What does at all
times
times
mean?
Yeah, okay, we'll consult with. Drop at all times. Oh, it's your recording. Fine.
And we'll consult
Um,
with the infrastructure committee on the RFP process.
Mhm.
Does that work?
That's good. Okay, everybody good with that slight vote? Moved by Councillor McLaughlin, second please. Councillor Hughes, all in favour? Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Nikki. Well done.
It's one of them. There are several.
Okay, next.
Page 85 is a bring forward from the November 18th meeting. It's a request from Ruth Simons under the House on Food Forum. On the bottom of page 2 is the resolution of support that they're asking for us to pass.
Okay, I can give some input here. I spoke to Ruth about this. It is a holdover from previous council. It's really the dotting of the I and crossing of the T of the previous resolution that the previous council did on supporting the endeavours in Howe Sound. This is actually potentially the assessment study, a blanket assessment study that could potentially lead to a different status for Howe Sound. I believe it fits in with exactly the previous council's intention, and I believe the desires of Lions Bay. So I'd recommend that we move on it.
Question, do we have to pay for any of this?
No,
Okay.
no. It's all done by the Ministry of you even circled it because I've never seen so many initials for a ministry.
Monroe, yeah, Forest Lands Natural Resources.
That one. It's the longest ministry name winner. So if that's cool, what page is it on again?
It's on
Page 86.
86 is the
The
resolution
resolution.
at the bottom.
Thank
Just
you.
fill in the blank with Lions Bay.
Thank you. So, the resolution is, as a member of the Howe Sound Community Forum Lions Bay, the Village of Lions Bay accepts the Ministry of Forestry, Lands and Natural Resource Operations offer to conduct a cumulative effects assessments for Howe Sound within the BCCA framework, but tailored to the Howe Sound area with assessment work commencing in early 2015. Mover, please. Helen Waterson, thank you. Second. Brett Bain, all in favour? Opposed? Ron, you're wrinkling your
Last paragraph, part of this too.
part of the resolution? No, I don't think so.
No, let's see here. I don't read that as part of the
No.
resolution, do you?
It's just to get the study done.
Right,
That's the
okay.
second last paragraph.
We're good.
Are you good with that? So you're in favour? Opposed? None? Motion carried. Thanks. Next. And finally. No, that was it for 9.
No, yeah. That's it.
Okay, item 10, bylaws. Mandy.
So this is just a draft brought forward. It did go forward to the last council. Some recommendations came to us. So now you're getting a clean version of a potential new council procedures bylaw. The intent of this is to really be able to use staff resources the most effective way possible. Reducing meetings is the biggest thing in here, and there was some redundancies, some areas that contradicted Robert's Rules of Procedure, so we really kind of pulled that out and deferred most things to the actual Robert's Rules. Some other things, just refined some of the definitions, so there's clear understanding of what correspondence and things like that are, submission guidelines, all those kinds of things. So this is a clean version brought forward for information. There's no readings proposed at this point, but we would like to release this publicly for public comment and review before we bring it forward for a first read January 6th.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to take it that we've read it. I started taking a cut at editing and realised there was more to it than just that. So, in the absence of the existence of a policy and bylaw subcommittee yet, which I would hope would fall under the upcoming government portfolio committee, it would have to be the public and council members to make comments on this one. I think it's pretty good. I think it's ready to go for initial publication and comment. So if unless anybody has any further input on that, I suggest, so what's the resolution, Manny?
That council receives for information draft council procedure bylaw number 476 and authorizes staff to release the document for public review and comment prior to being brought forward for first reading and discussion on January 6th. I've added "and discussion" into that resolution.
Okay,
that's there.
fine.
Just-
That'll be recorded as such in the minutes.
Yeah.
And might I note that this also gives the council members an opportunity to also submit via the public vehicle in advance of doing it live. Any suggested changes, revisions, ideas?
Agreed. So we'll get together on this at a subsequent meeting, or maybe we'll send things around. I mean, I noticed there's something, you know, we may want to change the day. It's currently Tuesday. We may want to discuss a different day, anything.
Mayor, but that's actually a very good point. And somewhere the council members, I think Tuesday was adjusted from a different day at the last term. I mean, for me, Tuesdays works fine. Most days work fine, but maybe it doesn't for somebody else for whatever reason. So for the council members, you may want to think about that too. And
There's one thing I'll just interject now, and that is that this proposes to go to the first, currently Tuesday, it might be the first Wednesday or Thursday or some other day of the month, monthly. It's been suggested to me that we keep it 2 weekly and simply cancel the second one every month if we don't need it. But otherwise it is on the docket, it's ready to go, the procedure. So that was the one substantive change that I saw from this draft that I would have put in there as maybe a suggestion. Maybe I don't suppose I really mind one way or the other. You can always add a meeting too.
it's procedural.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
procedural. But that's all this is. It's a procedure bylaw. So the resolution's on the table. Anything else?
So
Go
sorry,
ahead,
so when is this draft going out? Because it has to go before January 6th?
Right, so I'll
Okay.
release it tomorrow
Oh,
for
okay.
comment, and we'll go from there.
Good. Actually, CAO, so the comments from the public do not come in the form of correspondence.
No,
Thank
so
you.
what would happen
Good
just
answer.
for process would be that I would gather all that and bring it forward into a report with what was recommended as a change and what changes we couldn't use, whether it's
Okay.
the charter or,
So if there's 20 suggestions come in, 5 are really earth-shaking good ideas, you'd probably incorporate those, say that you've done it. 5 are just can't be done, period.
Right.
And then 10 are maybe wordsmithing.
yeah, I would probably bring a marked up document just so you
Okay.
can see what the
Perfect.
changes were.
Good.
Red line and strikeout document.
Okay.
Yeah, so there'll be multiple amalgamations. I think we'll come out with something good. It will probably need to go for a professional review, outside review.
Doesn't have to.
Doesn't have to, but
But we do have to, under the charter, anytime you change your procedure bylaw, every new, so after every reading, we would have to put it out publicly again, so we could just
Yeah.
show the nature of the changes.
yeah, it's an important one under the charter. It's sort of the one, in fact. Been quite exercised about this.
Is there a new procedure bylaw each time there's a new council, or
No.
did it just happen to fall
No, yeah.
with the new council? Okay.
This has been in the works for several months at the end of the last council.
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the resolution?
Did we move in second?
Yes, we did.
Thank you.
Helen Watson, a second. All in favour? Opposed? Motion carried. So that's great. Thanks, Mandy. 11, correspondence.
Just move in second receipt.
So the correspondence is there. Can I have a motion to receive the correspondence? Councillor McLaughlin, second. Councillor Bain, all in favour? Opposed? Motion carried. Anything we need to know about here? I've read them all. Good stuff. There's letters that need to be written out of this by mayors and administrators and so on. Okay. No immediate action items.
Not that I can see, but I'll go
Me
through it
neither.
more in depth tomorrow.
Lots of good stuff on how they do garbage in the UK.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll move on. New business. Do we do individual moves and seconds on these?
If they
If
require that.
necessary.
Right now
Okay.
they're just being introduced, so there's no.
Okay,
motion
so the
required.
first one is a request to waive user fees on page 197. Comments? Helen?
I would say yes. I don't know what is the comment. I think we should waive the user fee for this particular event and maybe for some of the future events. I don't know what the practice is now with regards to user fee.
So generally, how it tends to work is when the various community groups are expecting for user fees to be waived, they'll bring that forward in their annual municipal grant application. So they'll ask for in-kind donation of, 27 hours of hall use, and we'll incorporate that into a dollar value in their approved municipal grant. These tend to be the one-offs, and the struggle is finding the balance over whether you're opening the door for everybody to make the same request, or whether the benefit to the community as a whole is, can be realized through just having a one-off. So it's really for council to debate and discuss.
What's the basis on which we charge for use of the hall that's actually owned by the people using it?
It's governed by the fees and charges bylaw, so.
Yeah, why is it? Yeah, so I guess the second part of my question would be, if we can take a deposit, a cleaning deposit, $50, $100, I don't know what the number is, and if the thing is not returned in exactly the conditions specified, we keep the money. Otherwise,
It's a fair practice.
right?
Community groups apply for forbearance on the use of the hall for maybe 5 times a year, just as an example. So that's part of their community grant that we give them in addition to cash or other resources that we might do. This looks like it's a one-off, which it looks like it's previously been held outdoors at Wade Park, now they've gone indoors. So this would be one of the truly unique ones that would ever come before us.
This is a one-off. Yeah, I think it begs a bigger question on the fee structure. I know, for example, West Van gives every one of its formal groups, whatever that means, the use of their community centre once a month at no charge. Any one of the meeting rooms, or any one of the gyms, or any one of, depending on availability, of course. The point being that those are the people who paid for it in the first place. So that's a large discussion, I think. Yeah. So let's do we resolve this?
You would have to make a motion, because basically what you're doing is making a motion to waive the provisions of the fees and charges bylaw in this instance.
Okay. So would somebody care to make that motion?
Jim?
Do you want to word it?
Well,
Mandy will word it for you.
That the user fees under the fees and charges bylaw be waived for the Lions Bay Christmas Caroling 2014 event.
yes, I think it's appropriate.
And
Good.
will someone let them know
I will.
ASAP, because it's this Sunday, I
Yeah,
think.
I'll let Tina know.
Oh, I'm sure Tina's going to be calling tomorrow.
Let's just
Second
take-
on that, please. Fred Bain, all in favour? Opposed? Carried.
This just begs the question of what do we charge for the use of the hall, and what benefit is there to the community charging the owners of the hall to do that?
That's
you know?
a discussion
Because
we
it's
can
probably
have,
not
yeah.
worth the collection of the fee to do it.
Well, I can certainly see
damage.
collecting a deposit, a cleaning
Yeah,
deposit.
yeah, that's right.
But it also goes to maintenance, right? It does go to that maintenance piece.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
that's fair enough.
yeah, that's true.
So can we table it, or whatever the heck it's called, to discuss it in the future and agree on it?
Yeah.
That would have to come forward under the, there's 2 policies, there's community facility rentals policy, and then there's the fees and charges bylaw. So those are 2 things that are on your,
I see an amalgamation opportunity.
no.
What I see as an opportunity where the community piece, I'm not sure whether it's community or government, in the vagary of this might be something that within the subgroup that fits in there, because the groups for the communities are putting forward their budgets now. And taking the knockoffs aside, this wouldn't come again unless it was a real unique event. So the community groups would have put their request in saying we want to book the hall for 5 times on these dates or whatever it is. So it's,
This happens very rarely.
yeah.
And what's the difference between a community group and, say, a yoga class?
That's a program.
Okay, what's the difference between a
So
program
a community group will say, we're gonna meet every Monday for 2 hours for the whole year. Come if you want to, don't come if you don't want to. The community group, they charge drop-in fees or whatever they charge, and they take care of that on their own, but on an ongoing basis. A program is an independent yoga instructor, for instance, who's gonna come and run an 8-week program.
They need a hall.
Personally, they pay for the hall rental. And then we administer, we'll charge the fees on their behalf, but then we'll pay that instructor for running their program. All we're reaping out of that, we're not making any profit in terms of what they're charging for their class, their private program, but we're making the rental fee.
But could the private program person make run as a community program?
Generally, the private programs are not run by people in the village, which of course we want to
They're
change now that.
for-profit.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
Where the community
we wanna
groups tend to be
encourage more
not
people
for.
to run more programs, right?
Yes, we do, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that again is the larger question. And anything we can do to catalyze that or make that easier, we want to consider as a community building exercise. Okay, good. Thanks, Helen. Thanks for volunteering that one. Just adds to the portfolio.
Oh, I think it's also technical.
It was gray area.
Yeah. Okay, so,
Okay. Good. So we're still on item 12.
12B.
Do we want to swap it and let Nikki go?
We could do, yeah, we could do
Nikki?
12C next.
Let's do 12C, and we're gonna.
Slide on you to take.
I'll still be here, huh? Tenacious.
I emailed this last night and put it on the website this morning, so.
Okay.
Yeah, it's considerable. So,
Sorry.
back on August the 12th, at a previous council meeting, there was a resolution that was carried with regard to authorizing staff to proceed with compiling and submitting an application to Build Canada for the items that are listed in option 1. And that motion did get passed back in on September 2nd. Now, the grant funding is now actually there because for the longest time we had the federal government indicating they were going to release some funding, there's going to be some new round of grant funding, etc., and it didn't eventuate. So there has been a resolution from previous council with regard to which projects we were going to put forward to apply for grant funding for. And there was some considerable interest from the current council to augment, change, come up with other projects that were deemed of value as well. So at the September 2nd, 2014 regular council meeting, council confirmed funding and endorsed 4 projects to be compiled and submitted as an application for the anticipated grant funding intake. The projects identified were as follows: improvements to the access road above Ocean View Gate, Magnesia bypass installation of an additional PRV, Harvey intake road safety upgrades, and Magnesia intake road safety upgrades. These projects were fully funded in the 2014 capital plan. The improvements to the access road above Ocean View Gate was pulled from the list of projects for consideration of grant funding after the debris slide at the Harvey intake on October 22nd necessitated this project to be complete before we could actually clean up Harvey. So one of those has been pulled. So we've got a couple of interesting things here. To be eligible for consideration, any project that we put forward has to adhere to a lot of rules that you now have in front of you. For projects associated with drinking water, a supplemental form must also be filled out, which is in your package as well, but it looks like this. So you have everything that has to be adhered to in this document, and then you get some more stuff that has to be adhered to. Of note, the project put forward must have comprehensive, feasible, and credible supporting documents that clearly demonstrate the following: that the chosen projects have council resolution and/or bylaw that clearly identifies the source of the village's share of the project's costs, that funds have been committed to operate, maintain, and plan for the capital assets that are a result of this project for its life cycle, that the project has been identified as part of the village's water conservation plan and fits in with the official community plan and any other strategic plan, that the water plan is up to date and has a framework that summarizes the village's demand management water conservation strategies,
that the village's rate structure for water consumption will encourage conservation of the resource, reduce operating costs, and defer the need to further expand infrastructure. That the village has detailed up-to-date cost estimates for the projects put forward, and that an options assessment has taken place to ensure the proposed project is the best engineering solution for a particular issue. The challenge that we have is we do not, in my understanding, have a water conservation plan that has been endorsed by council,
We do not.
which is a requirement. We do not have detailed, up-to-date cost estimates for projects that we haven't already identified. The options assessments that have taken place took place in 2006 and or 2008. So it's a bit uncertain whether those would be allowed under current and up-to-date, which is also identified for the drinking water projects. And we, to my knowledge, currently do not have a rate structure for water consumption that encourages conservation of the resource. So we are a bit lacking. as
But
far
our
as-
rate structure encourages waste.
Correct.
It all costs the same.
Correct. So it would be quite a challenge for staff to put together anything beyond the option one. Option one has its pros and cons. There's no two ways about it, and I hope that they're articulated here well enough to make a decision. We do have up-to-date information. We do have the funding in place. We would not have to, the option would allow staff and council a quick turnaround with the application process. It would not require changes to the 5-year capital plan, would not require us to go with tax percentage increases or increased borrowing because they already have funding in place,
For the entire project.
the entire
So
project.
we're just talking about it getting 2/3 picked up by the government.
Which
Correct.
frees up $200,000 potentially for other things.
We would reallocate
And we go now.
as council so chooses.
And we could get it done now.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean,
So, sorry,
I'll just point out that the money available for BC, for the small communities section, is $250 million to be spent over 10 years. We're not quite sure what the rules on the intake are, but the current belief is that there's one intake for applications in mid-February. There's going to be one more, it looks like likely, in 5 years' time, and that'll be it. And in fact, if the government changes hands in the next election, there may not even be a second intake. Of the 161 BC municipalities that there are, plus a bunch of First Nations and regional districts and blah, 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 the average available in the program is about $1 million per community. Now, that's not to say that we would get our average, or more or less than the average, but that's sort of the number that's kind of been contemplated in small communities. So, you know, the bigger ones, the Surreys and the Vancouvers, they don't even fall under this program. So, we would be leaving a lot of money on the table in terms of, you know, of our share. Now, we're a small community compared to a community of 20,000, and small communities defined as under 100,000. So, you know, it's not that small, actually. Okay, that was my interjection. Thank you, sorry.
so the other downfall with option one is it does not immediately address council's concerns about the current state of the water distribution network, nor does it address the village's current lack of cross-connection control or very high water consumption. So those are the downsides.
Do you want to just explain cross-connection?
Sure. So, in any municipal system, the object of the game is to keep your drinking water as your drinking water. And cross-connection happens when you have water that's on the private side accidentally being introduced to water that's on the public side. And it's very easy to do that. For example, a lot of people will hook up their garden hose to their home and in between the garden hose and where the output of the water is, they'll put fertilizer or something and irrigate their lawn or do something with that. There's a chemical, you're introducing a chemical to your lawn. However, if fire decides to respond to something At the same time, you've still got your hose connection attached.
Going in
They
for a cup
could
of tea.
back siphon that water that's still got your hose connection attached to it into our system because we don't have any series of breaks that would stop that water from backflowing. So generally, how municipalities deal with that, the sort of quick and easy way to deal with that is water metering, because you're doing two things at once. You've got that conservation piece, but you also have automatic cross-connection control because they have backflow preventers. So they prevent water from being sucked back into the system. Another pervasive now problem is grow ops. So, and it doesn't matter if they're licensed or not. And so we have new rules that pretty much hand out these licenses like packaged chips. There's nothing we can do as municipality to prevent it. It's beyond our control. But grow ops use a lot of chemicals, and they tend to use a lot of water. But the risk is higher with a grow op that you're going to have standing water, you're going to have chemicals, and you're going to have hoses that are sitting in those chemicals. And if you don't have a cross-connection control, it's pretty likely that if you open up a hydrant downstream of them, you're going to suck back anything that's coming right back into the system.
Do we currently have any licensed grow-ops?
We are not
We're
allowed
not
to
allowed to know
ask
that.
for,
Yeah.
Really?
or
Yeah.
Even though it's licensed?
Yeah, we're not allowed to know that. It's a violation of privacy, under privacy law.
Even if it's a business, we can't tax them. Business license.
Well, it's up to them to declare that they are running a business out of their home.
it is a source of frustration for every municipality.
I smell a revenue opportunity.
I smell more than that.
So, yeah, it is a definite concern.
Nikki, we've read this.
Mhm.
I would suggest that we short circuit the discussion by referring us to the IC. There's too much technical detail in here to go through.
Can I just speak to one or 2 points on process?
Yes.
Just in terms of substantiating anything we're going to add to potentially our application. If we add anything other than what we've already budgeted in our 5-year plan,
Yeah.
we have to do a bylaw amendment.
Yeah.
If we have to borrow, we have to adopt a borrowing bylaw
Yeah.
before we can even fill the application.
Yeah.
Now, in order to adopt a borrowing bylaw, between third reading and adoption, that has to go to the ministry for review, and that turnaround time takes 4 to 6 weeks. Just keeping that in mind.
It is so tight as to be almost laughable, and it is quite possible. So I'll just run through. So I looked at your option 2 and option 3. I like them in the fullness of time, sure. Do we really need a bolted stainless steel tank? I don't know. We're going to have to look at that. But I don't need an answer now.
The reason that the options 2 and options 3 were put into this report is they were asked to be
Yeah.
considered
So I mean,
at
I
some
would.
point in time by someone on the council. That's the only reason they were incorporated.
Yeah.
I agree entirely with your comments with respect to options 2 and number 3. I think that'd be a desired state, no more desired than now. But I think in reality, to go where the CAO is going, I think that the obstacles in terms of readings and getting the borrowing approved push us out for months.
We
presuming
may
it-
be.
So, I mean, what
behind
I'm
the
saying
eight
is that we're unable, and I
It's a
hate
great pity
using,
given that
I
there's
hate
money on
using
the
the
table.
expression "the bird in the hand,"
Yeah.
because that's not what it is. We're just not ready to go to June.
It's a pity that we're not ready, but that's the reality of the matter.
And if I can just add one more point to that, by undertaking extra work and attempting to get all our ducks in a row to add more things to the application, we run a very real risk of getting nothing because our application isn't
It's
current
rejected in
enough,
its
it doesn't
entirety.
have all the background information. So, you know, where we have option 1, which isn't ideal, it isn't everything we want, there's a lot of money on the table, we have the benefit of reaping back $200,000 for our community right off the bat if our application is approved.
It's not $1 million,
If
but it's not.
But it's
not zero.
200 grand.
So
you
just
know?
to fill in on that, so I'm meeting with John Weston on Thursday to talk about this and this alone. I don't think they're going to give us
A window.
pass.
They're not gonna give us a window.
Certainly, the deadline cannot change. It's a federal program. It has to be, and every other community. Will they slacken off on the requirements? Maybe. We have this opportunity. We almost had to evacuate the village. That's got to be worth something. So, I mean, I would think that it would be useful if you can produce a timeline on the realities here. You're away until the 1st.
Yes.
How long must the bylaw be in review at the ministry for?
The estimate
five weeks
that they
minimum.
gave us was between 4 and 6 weeks, so even if you average that out,
Okay, so
it's
that's the
5.
whole month of January. If we even applied, well, I mean, right there.
Well,
But the actual borrowing would have to go through, there's the borrowing piece, and then there's
No,
getting the
it's-
borrowing bylaw in place.
it's 2 months.
Yeah.
Inside 2 months to do it.
Well, we don't have 2 months. It's less than 2
I mean,
months
that's
away.
where I'm going here. It's, the desired state can't be achieved.
With respect, we also wouldn't have a water conservation plan. So if you wanted anything to do with water
Specifically.
specifically, then these apply. And we currently would have quite a challenge being able to produce the required documents, one of which is a water conservation plan that has been written and endorsed by council, and it is a required document. And we do not currently have that in place.
Yeah, but I believe the government sandbagged the small communities here.
I think
They've
they-
Tell me
completely,
about it.
Yeah.
they have completely raised the flag. It's fluttering away.
I get the sense that is what senior levels of government do.
Yes, well, they did
Talking about
announce
referendums
this.
and whatnot.
They announced it in February. We
Yeah, but
weren't
never the
able-
rules.
We weren't able to
We didn't
even
release.
They
see
didn't release the
what it was
application.
we could apply for until the end of September. Or October, the end of October.
Yeah.
Greg, you were going to say something?
Yeah, well, on the plus side of the whole thing is that the stuff that's already in option 1 is stuff we really need to get going on, and I look at it as sort of the building block of the future infrastructure issues, like fixing up the roads, making it safer up there. So this isn't really a lose situation. We're gonna be able to save a couple $100,000, and then when we get our master plan in place, we can build on that foundation. So it may not be perfect, but it's a whole lot better than what we've done.
That's true, and I'm hoping there's an upshot of our near crisis this past week and meetings that I'm holding at Metro and at the province with the feds, that we can get some extraordinary funding out of it. So all's not lost. Okay, well, you can write this down. Mayor Burr said bugger.
It's on the tape.
Oh, it's on the tape. Never mind, you don't have to write it down. So, am I allowed to move anything?
We could, it would certainly be helpful to Nikki and I moving forward to have a clear resolution on where we want to go with this, which
Okay.
option we want to look at, because then we can get on it right now.
Okay, well then I will move, because it's near and dear to my heart, that with enormous regret and the saying of lots of rude words, that council
Be it
endorse
resolved.
endorse option 1, the small Mickey Mouse, previously planned, already paid for project. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Hughes, all in favour? What am I supposed to say now? Those
Oh.
opposed?
Oh, yeah,
Carried. Thank you. Okay,
thank you.
Thank you, Nikki.
thanks, Nikki.
You're free to go.
I'm sorry to not be a shining ray of
This is
hope and
shining.
light.
Shining.
I-
Actually, you don't have your usual high vis shiny on, so
Yeah, I can go get that.
I want to get one of those. Returning.
we'll get you one.
With the light on the top, yeah.
I think all you've done the last little while, the shining is there.
Yeah.
Nikki, this
Yeah.
has been an amazing piece of work, in and amongst all the other little things you've been taking care of. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm sorry it didn't work out that way, but I think the calendar's against us. It's going to give us some wiggle room in other respects, I suppose.
And I think though, on a good note, I mean, we have some really good definition of what we need to do and where we need to go, and just having that information is going to be helpful.
It's a
So
bum
we need
program
to
anyway.
have- Pardon? It's a what?
It's a bum program anyway. Sour grapes.
That's it. Harumph.
Maybe we're gonna have a reporter here for the community news at the next session.
Hey,
Thank-
everybody
Is
thinks
there,
that.
is there anything else you need from me?
Thanks.
Okay.
Take off.
Take care, thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. Okay, so we're going to return to the item B on the agenda, which I've lost.
Committee portfolios.
committee portfolios. So this is just a report out which we've already done out of the council. It's really just for the gallery. We are still trying to understand the exact structure of the committees, the choice being between standing committee and select committee, and there's sort of rules in the community charter about that. But we're going to, it's called strike. We're going to form 4 committees. I'll use the word form. We're going to form 4 committees: a finance committee, infrastructure committee, a community committee, and a government committee. And we've allocated chairs. The finance committee will be chaired by Councillor McLaughlin, infrastructure committee by Councillor Bain, government committee by Councillor Hughes, and the community committee, hard to say, by Councillor Waterson. We will be recruiting, depending on what the rules turn out to be, just so that you know, the rules require an equal number of councillors as members of the public on a standing committee. We are concerned that if we just probably need to check it with
I'll find out.
with our council. We're concerned that if we have more than 2 councillors, that becomes a quorum and it becomes a council meeting, which is obviously not the point of a committee meeting. It's supposed to be very informal and you're deciding nuts and bolts kind of stuff. So we're going to check on that. So we're still trying to decide whether the committees will be 4 or 6 people, because if it's 6, that's 3 council members. Technicalities. Here's my agenda.
We're on to public questions.
Public questions.
So we are now in the public question. Is that item 10?
So that doesn't need to
Thank
be
you.
passed or anything like that?
Nope.
Okay.
No. Item 13. Alan. You had a question before, or did you ask it? You said it.
No, you answered my question.
Oh, good.
Okay. I would say that this has been very entertaining. You've done a fantastic job. And I'll come back next time just to see you.
You're always welcome.
And
That's
you're very
fantastic.
knowledgeable as well, which makes it.
TikTok at 8:30.
It's 8:30.
And quick.
I said
TikTok's
8:40.
better.
I'm going to win my bet.
I said 8:40.
Covered a lot of ground.
Going to win lots of bets. Thank you, Alan.
Right.
So question, kind of backing up into the correspondence, I don't know if this is done, but I just noticed this one by Ken Miskin was, looks like he's asking
thanks.
for permission to
Yeah.
do some planting.
I believe that's administrative.
Is that, it doesn't need our approval or?
I did see that too, and does council want to direct? I mean, I can certainly go back to staff and say, do we have an issue?
It's page 192.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. I noticed that and I forgot it.
Yeah, about planning the things. Sorry, I've got too much paper here. 192.
One quick question.
Yes.
The library, for example, are you intending or attempting to get the library within the system of the computer linkage with the rest of the library?
Yes.
I think that's all I know.
Really?
Yeah.
That's great.
And I've got their desk and hookup trying to go to our Wi-Fi here.
Leave me with this.
Yeah, Fred, I think that's administrative.
I'll look into it. If it needs to come back to council, I'll bring it back to council.
Does that fit in with the timing?
Yeah,
I think it does.
I'll look at it tomorrow.
Fantastic. Yeah, I like that. It's fine by me.
And similar to page 193, is that a response to Dewey Peterson? Is that administrative?
There is no more response on the community center than what's already been put out.
Yeah. We can potentially respond. Again, that's administrative. You can handle that.
Did you say there
Who's
is
it
no
addressed to?
response?
It's addressed to all of the last council. This is a few weeks old.
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
So.
Yeah, we'll respond to all of those administratively. They don't require resolution or anything more serious than that.
No, and if it turns out they do, I'll bring them back.
Fine. Okay, thanks. Okay, motion to adjourn. Second? All in favour? Opposed? Carried. Okay.
Thank you.
I said it was
Thank
successful.
you.
Good meeting.
I said 8:40. What did you say?
I hold the record for choice.